So I am a Guinean innovator who came to Kenya as a leap of faith to pursue my dream of being a part of the innovation ecosystem, helping Kenya achieve its vision for 2030 of being the hub of innovation of Africa. So I used to live in Guinea, where I had started the country's first agro-tourism retreat. With some friends, we started the first social entrepreneurship training program, train hundreds of young people in social entrepreneurship. And then on my farm, we would host a conference every year where the best of those we've trained would come. They would learn about social entrepreneurship and innovation, and then there'll be a competition. And sponsors and donors, through the money we collected, they would get startup funding. So through Dare to Innovate, we funded the first generation of social entrepreneurs in Guinea. Then I got very passionate about innovation, transformed the agro-tourism retreat into an agro-business training center, which became the first private agricultural training center in the country. I was selected for President Obama's Young African Leadership Initiative. 50,000 people applied for the program. I was amongst the first 500 who were selected. And I was fortunate also to have been amongst the 100 out of the 500 who were selected for an internship.
Jamila is not a fashion model. That's not. She started a door-to-door laundry company to employ more youth and teach them entrepreneurial skills, and she hopes to take what she learned during her time at Dartmouth University to meet her goal of getting 1,000 youth to work in or run their own business. So we're proud to be your partner today.
So as I went through the leadership program, interacted with a lot of people, I was hearing a lot about Kenya and a lot about innovation in Kenya. And that was really exciting me because back home, many people didn't believe in this vision that I had of, a mass innovation initiative, training millions of people in entrepreneurship and innovation, and that would change the country. Like we could leapfrog our economy if we trained more people how to think innovatively. But when I saw that, the Constitution of 2010 in Kenya, the vision of the country for Vision 2030, projects like Konza City that were supposed to be built and developed, I saw like what now people call a Wakanda, right? So me, that's what I saw. I saw Nairobi like Wakanda. Wakanda didn't even exist at that time, but I was seeing flying cars. I was seeing so many things in my head, and I was like, I can help that country achieve that, right? And so after when I went to IBM had the guy who was in charge of my internship. He was the head of innovation ecosystems worldwide. So he had a lot of data about what was happening across the world in terms of innovation, different new technologies and all that. So he asked me, because IBM wanted, around 2014, they wanted to increase their ecosystem in Africa, right? They wanted to be more present in African countries. So I started doing research to build this proposal that I could help them do that, right? So I was really passionate about it because I was like, if this is an opportunity to help IBM push its ecosystem across the continent, where would I start, right? So I was looking at Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Egypt, Kenya. And from all the data I used to see, Kenya still was standing out for me, right? For someone else, maybe they would have said Nigeria because of the large population. And if you have a large human population and you have a higher education system that also has technical courses like IT and science, then you definitely have a high number of engineers, right? So you have engineering schools and you have a high population like Egypt, like South Africa, like Nigeria, you're definitely going to have a high number of engineers. But to me, you can't evaluate the growth of a country in terms of innovation only on the number of engineers, right? So you say, okay, India has a lot of engineers, so India is innovative. Well, yeah, if you have a lot of people, it means there's a lot of people trying new things, right? So, but to me, innovation is not just about doing a lot of things. It's also about how open are you to failure, right? How is the environment convenient to foreigners, so to different types of ideas, right? What are your human rights? You know, like, is it an authoritarian regime or is it a democratic regime? Have you had different transitions of power, so different groups of people have the ability to express different types of ideas? To me, that's what innovation is. And when you think of innovation from a continent or a worldwide perspective, or a national perspective, a country, for it to be innovative, has to have a stable political scene, has to have an economy that is based on a diverse economy, so multiple sectors, not dependent only on mining or dependent only on finance or dependent only on one thing. And then you have to have an environment that attracts people from other places to come. And Nairobi is a melting pot, right? So you have people from Asia, from America, from everywhere, because you can find the same lifestyle that you would have in New York or in Shanghai or even in Johannesburg. You'll find it in Nairobi, right? With all the malls and all those things. So it attracts a lot of talent. And talent wants to go where they can be able to contribute. And then there's a lot of people solving problems. So there's problems in Kibera. There's so many problems to solve, right? There's the wildlife. So there's so many things that people can contribute to. So to me, because of those factors outside of technology, because technology alone is not innovation, right? Technology is just a means of innovation. I knew that Kenya was going to lead innovation in Africa. So my basis was on Kenya. And so I did this presentation, but the corporate environments are really slow, and so they didn't have it like in their short-term plans to do anything about it. Later on, some of the things I saw them do it in Africa. So like partnering with innovation centers, creating a lab in universities and things like that. Those were things that I had already put in the proposal. That rather than coming and creating your own innovation center, find the innovation centers that are there, create your own space within that innovation center. But that experience was definite. I was like, I'm going to Kenya, like finished. And I had a ticket to go back home, right? Paid for, right? I was in Boston. I was living in the financial area, very good apartment with my colleague from Kenya and all. We're dreaming about what we're gonna do, build companies and. So me, I was like, finished. I called my mom, told her, I'm leaving you everything I've done in Guinea, right? Because I've always been invested in helping my family, and my family, they've always been entrepreneurs, so I've always been in the family businesses, right? And I even everything I built, I found a way to make it part of the family, right? So I was like, this is something I can leave. There's no problem. Like, leave it to the family business, and I was done. I was like, I'm not going back to Guinea. I have to go forward to this dream. And so yeah, I canceled my ticket and I stayed in the US for another 3 or 4 weeks, moving from one friend's couch to staying with an aunt on her in one of her rooms, but with this vision that I'm going to Kenya. I don't know what I'll find there. I don't know anyone there, really know anyone, just the people I've met through the program, but I'll make it. I'm going to go and I'll become one of the best innovators in that country. I'm going to help that country reach its Vision 2030 of becoming the hub of innovation in Africa. And then I'm going to take that knowledge and go and teach it to other people. So being a guy who could impact 1 billion lives, because that's my goal, right? And then transform a country, help transform other countries, that's how I think. That's the only thing I think about, right? And I want to share that. I want my story and my life to be an inspiration for other people to also believe that we're all born different. We all have different goals, all have different dreams, all have different capabilities, and God uses us differently, right? And for me, He uses me to help His people, right? And so I took the leap of faith. I came here with $100, and that's how my journey started in Kenya. And it's a very long journey, with a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties. But what I look at is where I am today, right? I'm still alive. I'm still innovating. I'm still dreaming big, right? I've been able to train some of the best young entrepreneurs across this continent, coach them, mentor them. I've been a part of conferences, events that have pushed the Kenyan innovation system and the African innovation system forward. I am well respected in the community of entrepreneurs and innovators in Kenya. My biggest happiness, or let's say what I'm the most grateful for being in Kenya, is one, Kenya gave me a wife. Kenya gave me a life, right? Kenya gave me a wife because I was divorced, and I thought that I would never want to get married again, right? But in me, I had always felt like I needed a partner, right, with whom we can build stuff together, right? So Kenya allowed me to find that partner, and not just a partner like a life partner, but a business partner, right? Because my wife is also a designer, an inventor, and so she had built the world's first movable wooden tent, right? That had never been done anywhere in the world, and she had built that. But she didn't have the skills, maybe the experience to grow it into a bigger business, right? By just being with her and us putting our minds together and say, okay, we want to build this business, grow it and sell it, and then allow us to now go into becoming angel investors, investing in other people, becoming ministers of the Lord, helping the kingdom of the Lord, go into farming, do a bit of what I did in Guinea, do it here in Kenya. So that process, we created a lot of jobs, for people who are working with us, casuals, because we were one of the leading luxury event companies in the country. The first lady of Kenya was one of our clients, right? Large companies, Deloitte, DHL, PwC, they were our clients. Yearly events that they were doing, we were doing for them. And then, large wealthy families, Indian families, Kenyan families who were doing, birthday parties, anything outdoor luxury, we were there because we had a unique product and we had a unique business model. Now, she was the one who created a unique product. I created a unique business model because that's what I know how to do, right? I can innovate anything into something scalable, sellable, profitable, right? But she knew how to invent. She can build things. She invented a lot of things in the industry that no one could do. Every time I think about why I'm here in Meru, I go back again to God and say, thank you. I used to be up, like, the trajectory of my career was supposed to be going far away, because when you start training at a certain level, you start speaking at a certain level, you're, especially the type of trainer that I am, where I'm not like the public speaker for the masses. I'm for the the leaders, right? I coach and mentor people who are going to lead the continent, right? When you start going in that direction, the next stage is presidents, right? Because you're working with people who have the ambition of being a president. So the next stage is, how do I work with presidents? How do I work with international organizations? How do I work? I already have worked with governments, right? I've worked with former presidents before, right? I've worked with multi-billionaires, right? But, so the next stage is always up, up, up. But for some reason, what God has done, He's really brought me back, like, to the fundamentals, children. And I have a feeling it's also to teach me something new, right? So Salem is my in-law school. My father-in-law built this school since 1996. And he went through a lot of challenges, to start this school, to grow it into one of the largest education institutions in Kenya. Everyone in Meru County knows Salem. Everyone, without an exception, right? During last year's pandemic, the school was closed like every other school, right? Government announces, oh, now we have a pandemic.
It was a question of when. And members of the press and fellow Kenyans, I want to inform you that the Ministry of Health has confirmed the first coronavirus case in Kenya.
Closure of all schools to protect the children and the teachers, right? Because some teachers are old, they have pre-existing conditions, so if a child comes to school not feeling well with the flu, with the COVID, can transmit to the teacher and the teacher dies. People never think about that. They just think about the children. But some children also live with their grandparents, right? So if they go to school and they get contracted by another child and then they, infect their grandparents also can die, right? So it was a good decision by the government. But schools, especially in Kenya, that values education more than my country and many other countries, schools are a part of the culture in the country, right? People always ask you, which school did you go to? What was your grade score in KCPE? What was your score in KCSE? Which high school did you go to? Was it a national high school or was it a normal high school, right? So every Kenyan knows that. Every Kenyan that lives today knows the importance and the impact of education, right? So imagine now a large institution like this that is serving the middle class, affordable school in the middle of town that has a student population of more than 1,000 is closed down and there's no education. Now, me, I was here with my wife on a sabbatical, right? So we had sold the business, said, okay, we take 3 months, we go seek God. 3 months, let's go stay with your parents in Meru and, just pray God, rest, and then we'll know what we'll do next. Then the pandemic comes, all the schools are closed, Salem is closed, but my children are learning online, right? My neighbor's children are not learning. The other neighbor's children are not learning. When we go out to go and stock, you find people's children are in the street, they're playing around, while your children are at home learning online. And that to me was unfair. And so, as an innovator, and someone who has faith in God, I go to God, right? I go to God and say, God, this is unfair. This is unfair. It's unfair that my children, because I can afford to pay them each a laptop, give them internet, right? That they're going to have like some sort of advantage during this pandemic than someone else's child, right? Maybe my driver or my employee whose child may not be able to have the same. So there's something that needs to be done. Use me, right, to solve this problem for 1 million children. Because you see, like I always say, I can't think small, right? Because that's not who I am meant to be, or that's what I thought, right? So I'm like, help me solve this for millions of children, not just Salem, right? Millions of children. So I, prayed. 2-3 days later, boom, I have this idea that people go to the movie store to buy movies on USBs, but then why can't they buy education on USBs, right? Oh, okay, boom. I started now, having the whole process of how it should be in my head. I still know it's God, I don't take any credit for it, to be honest. I can't say, oh, you're so brilliant. Oh, Chico, you're so brilliant. No, I'm just a funnel, I'm just a funnel for crazy ideas to come to life, right? So I went to school. The teachers were not there. They were scattered across the country. Others had gone to their villages and all. But those who were still in Meru, I said I wanted to have a meeting with them. Because I started asking my children themselves, like, would you be interested in studying like pre-recorded courses on TV? Like, how would you, like, what would and they were giving me different ideas, So then I went, got the teachers together. Then I asked them, so what do we do now if we to allow these children? So they gave all the idea of what was already being done. And then since I saw like they were, there was nothing new coming and all these possibilities that they had tried had not worked because the parents could not afford laptops, could not afford bundles, right? Consistently for their children. So it made no sense for a school that already doesn't have a digital, it's not digitally savvy to be offering e-learning to their students, right? And if the parents of those students are not wealthy, they can't afford the devices for their children. So maybe 80% or more of the schools in Kenya could not offer online learning. They were just using WhatsApp, sending papers and all that, but they were not giving everyday online learning. The ones who were, it's because the parents could afford it, right? So it comes back to the same inequality, right? To me, I walk around and I see, I'm in Meru, right? I see, there's no way in 2024 that these schools are going to be able to learn online. Not 2021, but 2020. Me, I was thinking 2024. I was like, there's no way. Because you have to change people's habits and you have to increase their income. Right? And so right now, when you think increase their income, what's the first thing they're going to buy? Food. The phone that they're going to buy. They're didn't buy food rather than a phone. Right? So I was like, okay, these people are mad. They used to call me mad. Now it's them who are mad, you know? So I focused my efforts on, building a studio at home, hiring the teachers, giving them a job so that they can earn an income. And then we recorded the entire syllabus of Class 8 and the entire syllabus of Grade 3, CBC. So Class 8, 844, CBC, and then we started now Class 7. And the good thing is Salem is amongst one of the highest performing schools in the region, right? And somewhat in the country. So it made sense that our teachers, they were first worried like, oh, we're going to be sharing our secrets. I'm like, hey, this is N for your children and for other children. What are you talking about secrets? Forget this whole thought of competition because everybody's preoccupied by competition because of the system. I told them, this is what we're doing. We're not doing something for Salem. We're doing something for the country. We're doing something for all these children out there whose parents cannot afford education during the pandemic, right? So we launched the HomeSchool Project. We created an online platform and we created an offline distribution channel. So we were using a bookshop in town called Fly Eagle, who is owned by our relationship manager, as the point of distribution of the USPs, right? So we would produce the content, we would have edit, and then we would distribute through bookshops so that everybody can be able to have and go and pick it up themselves, right? So we started. There were all these challenges that I had to figure out how to overcome because I was going backwards, right? I was innovating backwards. Most people were going forward using internet technology, making it easier, Google Classroom, Zoom, etc., Teams and everything. Me, I was going backwards. I was going to the most basic technology that everybody has access to, but it's very hard because you have piracy issues, very hard because you have distribution issues, very hard because it's just too simple. Its simplicity makes it hard, and no one is doing it. But for me, every time my team comes and people come, my wife comes, people tell me, I know, why don't we just do it online? I tell them online is not working for everybody, right? My focus is on that child, that mother that doesn't have a smartphone but has access to a TV somewhere. And all TVs now have that USB slot, right? So I was very singular on that focus, and I think that's what helped us. And why? Because I always have this image of Daniel in my head. When he's in the lion's den, there's this image of Daniel in the lion's den. The lions are behind him looking at him. He's standing looking at the window, looking at God, right? So everybody's looking at me. All these problems are coming to me, costs, because it costs us a lot, right? Buying video equipment, hiring videographers, editors, distributors, teachers, people for marketing. But all this, was expensive. But to me, first I was like, this is from God. It wasn't me who thought about it. If it was me, this is not the business I would be in, right? But secondly, this is for that child, right? Who is not like my child or like someone else's child who can learn or who's learning during the pandemic. So we push. And by October, when the schools were reopening, Salem students had already gotten, the USBs. They had already started using it as a pilot, right? Because it took us a long time to edit the content, maybe 6 months or 7 months or so to create the content and then edit it and then make it ready, organize it. But then we started testing to see, is this content going to help them improve their grades? Is this content going to help them become better?
The homeschooling project has really helped me in that. Who thought in the midst of pandemic that you could have something positive, okay? Because you are confusion, you're hearing deaths, you're hearing flu, you're hearing mask, sanitizer, and you're confused. And then they bring you school at home. You see, that's mind-blowing. So that really helped me. And Chico is an amazing man. He's positive, he's ambitious, and that encourages us, okay? We see him he doesn't know it, but just hearing him makes us smile every day because he has really changed our lives, you see. People, if you asked a person what they wanted to be, people are focused mainly on 2 careers. Business, no. Doctor and an engineer. Those were the 2 main things. But now if you go and ask a person what they want to be, they may have changed their mind.
It was of great importance because the time when the schools were closed, we found that the person who initiated this project found it good that we need to have our children learning, and bearing in mind that he had told us that he had a dream whereby he dreamt of educating more than 1 million kids in Kenya. So to me, it was one of the best ways of getting to reach the pupils.
The homeschooling project has helped me during the pandemic to learn and interact and learn through the television and understand and try to understand the concepts that the teacher might be teaching. And sometimes I may get distracted, sometimes I may be tired or exhausted, sometimes I may have duties to do at home, but I still can manage my time and also get to learn what is in the homeschooling project.
Homeschool Project was initiated by Mr. Chico Amadou. I came to know him after I joined this project in the studio during the COVID-19 season. That was last year. Yeah, this project was meant to educate all learners, as he usually says, Mr. Amadou, that his vision, his great mission that God created him to be is to educate 1 million people.
Sometimes you are tired and you don't feel like learning, but you can postpone it. If sometimes when you are doing your own lessons, you can be searching for a video and it is lost. Maybe you don't have internet and you think, this thing I want to know it, I don't know it at all. Maybe I don't understand when the teacher is teaching. But when you have this video of the homeschool project, you know if you didn't understand it better, you're going to repeat it again and you will understand. The teachers are so nice in teaching, they help so much, and you understand it much better.
As I was doing this, I was getting more involved in the running of the school. So I was getting to know the teachers better, getting to know the parents better, getting to know the children better. And more, my in-laws saw that I had some passion for this, right? And so they asked me, they said, we would like for you to run the school, into the future, right? Because they know the future is not about 844 and competition. The future is about that individual child, right? How do you develop that individual child and develop their talents? And that's what I had been doing for the top of the top, right? Coaching the best of the best. And now I'm coaching very small children. No joke. He was buying a new one and we were just discussing like that, right? Because he was like, I can never do this. He had a very comfortable job, right? In a mining company, was paid tens of thousands of dollars per month, right? We both had gone to the US, we had met the President Obama, they had gone back home, they had the aura, they were in the news, me, I was struggling in Kenya. He said, but why are you doing that? Why are you there? It doesn't make sense to us. You could come back here and be a minister. You could come back here and work for yourself. What are you doing in Kenya, Chico? I'm like, no, I have a dream. This is the place where I can achieve my goals of innovation. And so making the connect was that, okay, I have a school, a physical school that I'm managing with children who come to school physically. So we put all the COVID-19 regulations in place early, right? Not at the last minute when other schools were transforming their field into a farm. I was like, let's count how many students we can hold. We have a large student population. How can we hold all of them? We realized we couldn't hold all of them. We have to build, new classes, which meant also we needed to, raise capital to be able to do that. So that was one. Secondly, okay, how many can we be able to hold? And the government also did, the phase reopening, which was very good. People criticize the government sometimes, but they forget that the people they see are politicians. The people who are really doing the work know what they're doing. The educators within the Ministry of Education, they know what they're doing. If they're given more chances for them to do what they know they're doing, the education is much better. right? But you're sitting at home, already you don't take care of your child, right? You delegate the responsibility to the school. Now that the school is closed, now is when you have an opinion. Now is when you have an opinion on how the school should be run, or you weren't involved during the time when, like, I wasn't involved. I had children. It's true. Like, I couldn't say I'm like a parent who was 100% involved in my children's education in school. So there's nothing I could come up and say about the education system. I'm not involved. There are parents who are involved. There are parents who are committed. We call them amazing parents. Like, there are moms who, like, their child's education is like their education. You understand? Those opinions matter because they're constructive. They'll say, I don't want to send my child back because I want to see what's happening. No problem, you're right. Because you've already seen what was happening before. But people are criticizing the government, ministers, schools, teachers, and all that. Well, they have no real opinion. They're not involved in how things were happening before the pandemic, right? Now that they have the constraint of now taking care of the children, now they start having, and those opinions, what it does, it affects, public opinion affects policy, affects how politicians, behave. And then that also affects how now the people in the system who know how to do their work are also now pressured to do what will please the populace, right? So people are complaining on how you have to open schools, you have to close schools, rather than trying to understand what is needed for us to, have a school system that is ready for the next pandemic, right? Because there may be another one to come. And if it comes, are you ready?
And we have to make sure that we're ready because there will be another pandemic. And there's so many lessons about how we weren't prepared, how we should have handled things differently. And, when that's clearly in our mind, those investments need to be made.
Right? Why are you just preoccupied by the now when there's people whose job is to think about that? Allow them also to do their work, right? So there were so many things that were happening that we couldn't roll it out the way we wanted to. But it gave us a lot of insights. It showed us that we've figured out a way to improve children's performance. Because now, a child who has this USB that we call now the Masomo box, right? Because we created it into a separate product, the Masomo box. The child that has this Masomo box can be able to learn at home at their own pace. Because some children, when they're in class, they're afraid of asking questions because they feel like if they ask a question, the teacher will tell them that they're dumb. Or their friends will make fun of them. Or they're introverts. They don't like to talk. So they're getting bad grades, not because the child is a slow learner or the child is stupid. Because the child is not understanding very well in the classroom, right? But the system is made in a way that the child has to compete with other children who have different intelligences that the child doesn't have. So we found that, by having this USB with, the fundamentals and the curriculum on the USB in day form, like organized like what we've done, the child can be watching 1 hour per day of 20 minutes, different subject. The one he doesn't understand very well, she can rewind it, watch it again and again and understand. Not cram, understand. And once the child understands, their performance increases. So one of our students who has been in the school since he was maybe in grade 1, now he's in grade 8. And since grade 1 to grade 8, he's always been the lowest performer. Many teachers will label him slow learner, or even they'll say he will even have some sort of disability. The child that has no disability. I've met with him, I've had coaching sessions with him since I started working. The child has no disability. It's just the environment in which he learns or his way of learning is different. This child has been watching these USBs since last year. He's been using the USBs. His grades have been improving. Now, if someone is in the 200s and grows to 250, that may not mean anything to the general system because people will say, he's not so smart. 250 is nothing. But for him, that's a lot. For that individual child, for his parents, that's like going to the moon. That's what's important to me. You understand? So if the top of the top use the content and the offline learning model where they have the USB, they plug it to a TV, they can revise as many times possible, and they get 400 to 500, that's good for them. Excellent. You have more chances of becoming a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, whatever you want. But for this one who wants to be a farmer, right? He wants to be a farmer. Eric Mutomi, deep down in him, he wants to be an agricultural businessman. His mom wants him to be this, his father wants him to be this, but he wants to be that, right? Because I'm asking him, what do you want, right? I'm more focused on what do you want? And then how can you use what you're doing in school to allow you to be a businessman in farming, rather than just a farmer? You understand? So when all those things started coming, we said, okay, what else? What else can we do? And we found, there's communities that don't have enough teachers. They don't have enough teachers, right? There's communities that are insecure. They don't have enough teachers because it's too far, or there's insecurity in that region, like the north of Kenya, right? The refugee camps. They don't have the best teachers. We have good teachers. What if our content can help those children improve their understanding, right? By setting up a virtual school. So we set up a virtual school, solar powered, and then have our content inside. And a facilitator who allows the children to be able to learn the content. And everything, we built the whole system for it to work, right? So we said, okay, how do we make this sustainable? Because for me, what I want to do something that can continue even if I'm not here, right? Because that's how I think. So I said, okay, so the Masomo box, we sell it to the parents, right? Who want to buy 32 GB, like the price at which we're selling them is like a bargain, right? You get like 60 videos for your child to be able to revise, and you can buy it in any bookshop. The proceeds of that allows us to identify communities and build virtual schools in communities who cannot afford a good teacher, who cannot afford even books. We build a virtual school where they're also learning the same quality content as others would elsewhere, right? And because I am working in Salem, I have the ability to test and improve the model, right? Because we're a physical school, we have an online learning platform, and then we have an offline virtual product, a kit that someone can use, right? So to me, when I look now at how God put all this thing together, like why I started this thing, I think he has a purpose. I don't even know what it is yet, because I still feel like there's more to come. Because as I'm here, helping these thousands of children, we're expanding the school, I also want to touch 1 million children outside of Salem, right? In different parts of Kenya. And so that's what we're working towards, is that we can be able, with the good teachers we have here, improve our teachers, create more content, and allow that to help children from elsewhere as we're helping our own children.